Ashton Genty has been hit behind the line of scrimmage more than any player in the National Football League. Yep. So you just gave him the ball in the end zone. Do the math. How's that going to work out?
It's like what I said
earlier. He got hit behind the line of
scrimmage.
He got tackled in the end zone.
Yeah.
Oh, they're terrible. But the thing is, Brady, you draft offensive linemen before you draft a star running back. Like they went backwards.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
When I think of the European tour, these are the players I'm thinking of, right? So I understand why that they would be so frustrated by all this, but they also know that there are rules in place that, from a competitive standpoint, that if you're a member of this tour, like, you can't go join a rival tour. Like, there's rules in place, just like in any other business.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
The Green Bay area and the Philadelphia area, you would get on ABC normally.
Yes.
But they didn't have ABC, so they couldn't get it locally.
Yeah, it just, you have to ask the question, like, nobody wants to hear from Bob Iger during the Monday night game when 10 million people are blacked out from watching the game, and you not ask him about when the blackout's going to end.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The 35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Good afternoon. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Great to be back with you here, our midweek edition of the show. Plenty to get to on today's program. The latest in college basketball. We're going to dive in and talk to Michael DeCourcy from Sporting News. A couple of big matchups last night. Also, the latest in the NBA with Brad Thomas as he joins us here on the show as well. Of course, we'll talk some NFL, go through some college football. Naturally, we'll check in with Simon Applebaum, as we always do on Wednesday, to get the very latest in sports streaming and news as well. Netflix making a big announcement as to who is going to be participating in their broadcast coming up on Christmas Day, a day I'll be here with all of you working at SportsGrid here. Can't wait to do that. We got 3 games in the NFL. But first, let's take a look at the college football playoff landscape. We've got some movement here in the top 12. Here is how the playoff would look if it began today. The rankings were revealed. Ohio State, Indiana, and A&M, they are the 3 undefeated teams in college football that are left. So those 3 would be at the top. As far as the rest of the bracket is concerned, that is when it begins with teams that will certainly have to play and get a bye after Georgia. You have Texas Tech, Ole Miss, Oregon, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Alabama, BYU, and Utah. That right now is the top 12 in the college football playoff. So on the outside looking in, you have Miami at 8-2, Vanderbilt 8-2, USC with a big game this week, and then Georgia Tech. You got 2 teams in the ACC, so that thing will be worked out naturally. Let's also not forget that Notre Dame ranked 9th, Miami ranked 13th. Miami beat Notre Dame earlier in the season. So how will that work? Also, Tulane is ranked 24th, but they're in the bracket because they are the top-ranked group of 5 representatives that are left. So some good matchups. Texas Tech, Tulane, Ole Miss, Miami, Oregon, Alabama, Oklahoma, Notre Dame could potentially be some of those matchups coming up. The Hurricanes are hoping to sneak in there in the end. They're going to have to win their remaining games, including this week against Virginia Tech. Now, over to the National Football League we go. Quarterback changes are with us here yet again this week. Looks like Davis Mills is going to get another start for the Houston Texans. Surprisingly, C.J. Stroud going to miss his 2nd consecutive week with a concussion that he suffered 3 weeks ago. He will not play against the Buffalo Bills coming up on Thursday night. An update injury-wise on the Texans was given by D'Amico Ryans ahead of tomorrow night's game.
To start, just with injury updates, C.J. and Jalen will be out. Both guys are progressing. They're doing better. But right now with the short turnaround, game on Thursday, just don't have enough days for those guys to be available. All right, I'm done.
Can you talk about how good it is just to see them advanced enough to be out there?
Say that one more time.
How good it feels just to have them out there.
Yeah, it's really encouraging just to see both guys out, being able to practice and go through those things. So it is encouraging to see that they are making those steps to get themselves back healthy.
Right now, the NFL landscape is changing quite a bit at quarterback. We could have 3 different quarterbacks starting this week. We'll start in Pittsburgh, where Aaron Rodgers has an issue with his wrist. He will not need surgery, but he has not practiced as of yet. Mike Tomlin said Mason Rudolph will get the snaps this week, but it's possible that Rodgers could still play.
In the meanwhile, certainly it'll provide opportunities for Mason and Will to get quality work as we start the week, and I think that's the posture that we're in. A little later in the week, we'll take a look at Aaron, and again, as I mentioned, the variables are stabilizing it and making sure that he's safe and he can protect himself, brace himself as he falls, etc. Pain tolerance, but that doesn't seem to be an issue with Aaron. He wanted to go back in the game on Sunday. And then lastly, obviously, how effective he can be. And so, Friday's probably a big day in terms of some of those things. I know he's working his tail off to be a component of this week. He and I talked yesterday. He expressed that directly. I'm of the mindset of supporting that, while at the same time, I got a healthy collective of guys as a team and as a unit to ready. In the meanwhile, that will be our mindset.
Browns Raiders this week, if you're interested. Shadur Sanders is going to start for the Cleveland Browns against the hapless Raiders. Jamar Chase lost his appeal for what the NFL called him spitting on another player. And Jalen Ramsey, he will miss week 12 and get fined approximately $500,000. Not going to play in this game coming up. Also in college basketball, some top 25 matchups. Michigan State defeated Kentucky. Final 83-66. Jackson Kohler of Michigan State had 20 points. Kentucky didn't really get off on three-point range. 7 of 30 from 3 last night. Tom Izzo, of course, still head coach of the Michigan State Spartans, said slow start, fast finish.
I didn't think we played so well early. I thought Jeremy was below average early. And then the first time out, we got him out. And after that, I thought he was spectacular. I mean, made a mistake here and there because they're a good team. And but the things that we wanted to do was take away the 3 and rebound the ball. I think they only had 6 offensive rebounds. And give our guys and my coaching staff a lot of credit. I thought we executed things pretty well. We turned it over a little bit more. And as good as we played defensively in the second half, those turnovers, some of them were for touchdowns. And then they got more baskets at the free throw line. So that was the only negative for us. The positive for us was we made some shots. And those of you that are at Michigan State, I don't know, did we make more threes today than we made all year? Yeah, and that's not meant to be funny, but it is funny.
Duke also beat Kansas yesterday, 78-66. Cam Boozer, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Darren Peterson, one of the best young players for the Wildcats, did not play in this one. Here's John Shire on his Blue Devils picking up the win.
Really proud of our win tonight. I thought, that it was the epitome of our team a little bit. The fact that all 9 guys scored, but all 9 guys made big contributions. A ton of respect for Kansas, their program, Coach Self. We knew, unfortunately, obviously Peterson being out changes their team, of course. But you also know that those other guys are going to step up. And I thought the game that White had, Council, is what we thought. They put a ton of pressure on us. But I'm proud of the fact that we just thought we showed great resiliency, real game pressure on us, and we found a way to get stops. I thought the key was, our defensive rebounding. That's been an issue we've had to address. Our guys did that, held them to single-digit rebounds. We valued the ball in the second half. I think there was only 2 turnovers. That was a big deal. And then guys making key plays, just key offensive plays, finding a way to score, which wasn't easy. It's never going to be easy against Kansas. But really proud of this team.
In the NBA last night, LeBron James made his debut, his season debut, after missing the first month of the year. The Lakers beat the Jazz 140-126. LeBron played 29 minutes. He had 11 points and 12 assists. He's now scored 10-plus points in 1,293 straight games. Wow, that's a long time. Luka had 37 points and 10 assists. Lakers are playing pretty good basketball, by the way, without LeBron. So someone asked him in the media yesterday if he can fit in on this team.
Was that yesterday's practice, post-practice? I can fit in with anybody. I don't even understand why that was even a question. What's wrong with these people out here? I can fit in right away with anybody. So, just watching the guys the first 14 games that I missed, the first 14, just watching them and seeing. I was just putting myself in position, while I was watching the games of how I can help the team and how I can be successful to help those guys. And, I still, able to gain a lot of eyes when I'm driving the ball or have the ball, things of that nature. And, I had a big fella down there, big five down there, and my guy Gabe right here, obviously, and Jake, our second team. We went out there and kind of pushed the lead up. That was good.
Meanwhile, in the East, the hottest team in the NBA has been the Detroit Pistons, 120-112. They won 11 straight games. Magic beat the Warriors 121-113. We'll be back diving into college basketball with Michael DeCourcy of Sporting News. Stick around. We'll be right back. Let's play our game of buy or sell. It has been a season to remember for Drake May. As of right now, May and Matthew Stafford are the favorites to win the NFL's MVP. Who had that at the beginning of the year? You probably could go through 20 quarterbacks before you got to Drake May as predicting winning the MVP. After this season, buy or sell, we will think of Drake May as the best quarterback in the 2024 draft class. Is this buy or sell? He certainly wasn't going in.
All right, for those who don't know, we're talking May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix. A lot of interest there, right? A lot of interest there as far as those QBs. He's going to be the best. I mean, this is a question I would normally just take the field, right? Because I'll assume that Jaden Daniels has been really good. While he's hurt now. Caleb Williams, he's getting better and better. I'm still not giving up hope on the other three here as far as Penix, McCarthy, and Nix, although I would certainly have May well above them. So I think for me, it's either Daniels, it's either, Williams, it's either May. Isn't this recency bias? Last year we would have, it's Daniels. By far, it's Daniels. Now because he's hurt, hasn't had a good year, it's Drake May. I'll sell this just for the sake of it, Craig, here, but I don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah, I'm going to sell. I got Jaden Daniels still. I can't go this far with Drake May. Maybe second best, but it's not even about taking the field. We're having recency bias here. Jaden Daniels, to me, will still be awesome. So next year for Daniels goes back ahead of Drake May.
Fantasy Sports Today, Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Well, Michael DeCourcy is not watching his Pittsburgh Steelers. It's hard to pull him away from college basketball, so that's why we're bringing him on the show today to talk some college hoops here. Mike, the season, of course, now off to a rousing start. We'll break down some of the games that happened last night, also take a look at some games coming up. Thanks for coming on once again. All right, so here we are, another team, another Duke team ranked inside the top 5. They improved to 5-0 on the year. They beat Kansas 78-66. Sluggish start for Kansas to start the year. They're ranked inside the top 25, Mike, but I have a feeling next week they will not be. Cameron Boozer, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 7 of 17, and here we are again, another year where the Blue Devils are ranked inside the top 5, another year where they have the favorite to potentially even win the Wooden Award at the end of the season as well.
Interesting thing about Duke that I discovered, I had been aware of it, but not aware of the numbers. Since 2019-20, Duke has had 5 consecutive seasons in which they did not have a single player average even 5 assists a game. They have been pointless in a way. They just have not had the level of point guard play that carries, say, the Paolo Banchero team to the championship in 2022, or last year's Cooper Flagg team to the championship. And so now have they addressed that? And I thought last night was the first glimpse we've seen of a true Duke point guard since Trey Jones finished in 2020. I thought Caden Boozer looked really good and really in command when he was on the floor. And I think it's time for Duke to consider playing 2 Boozers, not just Cameron, the fantastic power forward prospect that we all knew about coming in, but his younger brother looks like a legit point guard, and he's definitely the best chance Duke has of mastering that position.
And right now, Cam Boozer is the favorite to win the Wooden Award very early on in the season, naturally. But Cooper Flagg, of course, best player in the country last season, #1 overall pick in the draft, followed by Braden Smith, JT Toppin of Texas Tech. And then certainly there's some other options there, but not the favorites to win the Wooden Award at the moment. All right, another season of Tom Izzo basketball in Michigan State off to a good start, 83-66. They end up beating Kentucky, who was ranked higher than them going into this game. Jeremy Fears, 8 points, 13 assists, 6 rebounds, his plus-minus plus 19. Does Tom Izzo have another team this season, Mike, that's, I mean, it seems like at least ranked better than they were at the start of last year? I know that team had to kind of scrounge to get into the tournament.
Yeah, what you see the value of having a point guard like Jeremy Fears, 13 assists. And I think he's had no fewer than 8 assists in any game so far this season. And that's with a team that began the year struggling to make shots. Last night at the Garden, Kentucky found out that what was on the scouting report wasn't on the floor because all these guys that hadn't made any shots at all started draining threes, Kurtang being the most obvious of that group. But they had a lot of different guys come out and make threes. And some of that was Kentucky being too compliant on defense, but some of it was the confidence that built up with Michigan State through the course of that game. And also, as I mentioned, Fears getting the ball to guys when they were open and in great position to shoot and putting it in the shooting pocket so that they could get off the shot before the defense was able to close. Fears is a tremendous player. They've got great power up front. Cone Carr is the most dynamic player in all of college basketball, and I'm not even sure it's close. He's a future, if they ever have the slam dunk contest again, Craig, and I'm not sure whether they will. If they do, he's a future slam dunk champion. The guy's above the rim the whole game. But what Tom has done is continued to address the culture of his program. This is how Michigan State's going to be. Will he dabble in the transfer portal? Yes, but he's not going to turn over his whole roster from year to year. He wants guys who want to be Spartans, and so far it's looking pretty good.
Let's get to tonight's game, 7 p.m. Eastern. 2 teams searching for a national championship this season. UConn came up just short against the Gators in the national championship, but they're bringing a ton of their guys back this year. 5.5-point favorites. They're undefeated after beating BYU by a close margin over the weekend. The Huskies are 5.5-point favorites over Arizona tonight. Total of 156.5. Arizona, of course, has that season opening win against Florida. So 2 really strong teams squaring off this evening.
Yeah, Arizona also defeated UCLA last Friday in LA. I didn't like that Arizona performance quite as much. They really struggled against the UCLA defense. So what kind of D can UConn present tonight? I think that's going to be the key for the Huskies. How good are they defensively at this stage of the season? Offensively, UConn's going to be fine. I think you're going to see them continue to advance and progress. But they need to be exceptional defensively to deal with all the physical power that Arizona brings to the game, as well as here we are on the point guards again. Jaden Bradley, who was fantastic down the stretch against the Bruins, made the difference in that game. Otherwise, Arizona would be coming into this game off a loss.
Alabama takes on Illinois tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Alabama's lone blemish this season is losing to one of the best teams in the country in Purdue. They're on the road tonight against Illinois, another great matchup here tonight. And we know, Mike, when Alabama plays, it's all about tempo. 181.5 is the total tonight. And you see this you're going to see this all season long. We'll probably hit a 200 like we did last year in the NCAA tournament. But Illinois, on paper, a little bit better here, but you kind of know when you're betting this game very early on if you have a shot with Alabama, don't you?
Yeah, I think some of the favorite aspect of this is that the game will be played in Chicago, so it's a 2-hour ride on a nice bus for Illinois, and Alabama's got to jet up from the south. So I think that has something to do with it. And obviously, most of the fans in the building will be rooting for the Illini. I think one of the things that's interesting is that Illinois still isn't whole or hasn't been whole. Mihailo Petrovic, who was to be their starting point guard, hasn't played yet. Not sure about his status for tonight. In his stead, the Illini have been very good. Kylan Boswell has been running the point for the most part and has been fantastic, averaging 18 points a game. I think they want to get him back to being off the ball so that they can see what Petrovic can provide. They did a really nice job of going to Europe and bringing in a couple of Merkovic and Petrovic, as well as the size of the Ivisic twins. So they've got a lot to offer, and it'll be very interesting to see how they match up with all that firepower that Alabama brings.
Thanks again, Mike, for coming on. Enjoy the games and, of course, football this weekend, and we'll talk again next week. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Let's play our game of buy or sell. It has been a season to remember for Drake May. As of right now, May and Matthew Stafford are the favorites to win the NFL's MVP. Who had that at the beginning of the year? You probably could go through 20 quarterbacks before you got to Drake May as predicting winning the MVP. After this season, buy or sell, we will think of Drake May as the best quarterback in the 2024 draft class. Is this buy or sell? He certainly wasn't going in.
All right, for those who don't know, we're talking May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix. A lot of interest there, right? A lot of interest there as far as those QBs. He's going to be the best. I mean, this is a question I would normally just take the field, right? Because I'll assume that Jaden Daniels has been really good. While he's hurt now. Caleb Williams, he's getting better and better. I'm still not giving up hope on the other three here as far as Penix, McCarthy, and Nix, although I would certainly have May well above them. So I think for me, it's either Daniels, it's either Williams, it's either May. Isn't this recency bias? Last year we would have, it's Daniels. By far, it's Daniels. Now because he's hurt, hasn't had a good year, it's Drake May. I'll sell this just for the sake of it, Craig, here, but I don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah, I'm going to sell. I got Jaden Daniels still. I can't go this far with Drake May. Maybe second best, but it's not even about taking the field. We're having recency bias here. Jaden Daniels, to me, will still be awesome. So next year for Daniels goes back ahead of Drake May.
Fantasy Sports Today, Friday starting at 3 p.m. only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Oregon USC, one of the big marquee matchups in college football. Can Ohio State take care of business on Senior Day? And also Oklahoma, now inside the top 10, faces off with Missouri, a team that a lot of rumors are surrounding their head coach. Let's take care of all three of those matchups. It's time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. classic matchup that used to be out west that still is, but in a different conference. Oregon takes on USC in the Rose Bowl coming up this Saturday. Should be a fun matchup considering that Oregon still has a shot to get a first-round bye in the college football playoff. USC is just trying to get themselves in there. They're going to need to win the game this week. Lincoln Riley talked about just how talented both rosters are, but as you know, only one team can come out on top.
And they're a well-coached group that does a really good job. So, we're going to have to, kind of do what we've done all year, and it's been a strength of ours. It's been a strength of theirs. And again, all that though is typical of games like this. When you get two teams that have won as many games as these two teams have, you're more than likely you're going to be pairing a lot of strengths against strengths, and that's what this matchup's going to be like.
Let's see one more.
How satisfying is it to be playing meaningful football in the middle to end of November?
This is what I'm used to, man. Like this is what I'm used to. So it's good to be right there again, no question. Just the ride and the journey with this team's been really fun, and we got a long ways to go. So it's the time of year I enjoy the most. So it's good to be in the hunt, and it's good to have a team like this that you believe in, and looking forward to the next one.
This next clip sort of hit me a little bit because Ryan Day is the head coach at Ohio State. And, obviously they're going to beat Rutgers this week and probably going to be in the college football playoffs and national championship as well. But what Day said really is a good point. Folks, we are nearing the end of the college football season. It is senior day in Columbus, and Day reflected back on a team that's had a lot of success on the field as they get ready to face off with Rutgers on Saturday.
Yeah, well, for our seniors, these games go fast, and we talk every year about how quickly these games go. And here we are, last game in the shoe, in the regular season. And, it's important for, everyone to play with urgency. But I say all the time, don't wait till the last game to start feeling all the emotion of that. Like that's a build up all year long, and being in the moment and appreciating that. But, for the guys who, are playing their last game in the shoe, it's a big deal. And, we need to celebrate those guys by everybody in the Woody, giving everything we have and playing for them. And I know they're going to put, everything they have into this game because, there's a lot of great memories on that field, a lot of great memories, in the Woody and, spending time on the practice field and all of those things. And when you get a chance to reflect, it just makes you realize how important finishing this season is the right way.
Naturally, Ohio State big favorites on Saturday as well. Okay, Missouri will take on Oklahoma. Unfortunately for the Tigers, they're probably out of the college football national championship picture, but still have a lot of things to accomplish, including getting a big bowl game in January. Let's hear from Eli Drinkwitz, who has a lot of rumors surrounding whether or not he'll even be around for bowl season as they take on Oklahoma this week.
I'm not going to comment on message board chatters, tweets, sources. I've maintained with you and our team that my complete focus is on the task at hand. Last week, people were tired of me because I couldn't win the big game. People had me meeting with my team and telling them that I was going to another school, none of which were true. Now this week, it's a different story because we scored the second most points in the SEC this year at 49. So, all of this stuff is just a distraction. I would like to remind everybody, including our fans, we absolutely love Mizzou. We love what we're building. We've been to 6 straight bowl games. We've got the sellout streak going. Since I've been here, I've signed multiple extensions. In fact, I signed one this past summer. So all the speculation is really a tribute to them, and it's a tribute to our team's success and their commitment to our team. And that's where my focus is going to remain on our team and our current situation.
And right now, Missouri still with an opportunity to play in a big bowl game, but, Drinkwitz may have an opportunity to go to another school. All right, let's get to some baseball headlines real quick before we check in with Sam McQuillan. We've got the qualifying offer yesterday going to several players, and 4 players did accept that qualifying offer. That would include Shota Imanaga and Trent Grisham of the Yankees. The Orioles made a trade getting Taylor Ward from the Angels for Grayson Rodriguez, and also Frankie Montas let go by the Mets. He still had $17 million left on his contract. Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report is up next. Don't go away.
You need Justin Jefferson on that wall in the playoffs. Like, you got to go get him. He is still the man. I understand the JJ week last. Like, I get it. It was ugly. There were a lot of spots where, like, where's he throwing that ball to? What's he doing? It'll be fine. Justin Jefferson's far too talented, and McCarthy will continue to figure it out. But it's the target volume you want. He gets double-digit targets every week. He is arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Oh boy, oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Players behind the scenes who complain about Hurts' unwillingness to throw through tight windows against zone coverage. I told you Friday, Kevin, that Jalen Hurts takes the path of least resistance. He holds on to the ball. He doesn't like making those tighter throws. Though he loves making deeper throws, which it's interesting. Over 20 yards, he's one of the best in the National Football League.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great to have Sam McQuillan with us. As typically, when Sam comes on the show, it's all about the story of prediction markets in sports. Sam is back with us here again, and here we go. I mean, I would love for us to be able to lead off with some other sports betting news that's not controversial, but here we go again. And Sam, the American Gaming Association, when sports betting became legal, really stepped up and wanted to make sure that the bad actors were gone and making sure that people were doing the right thing. It's kind of distressing me, to be honest with you, to see FanDuel and DraftKings dropping out of the AGA, and it just shows you that the story on prediction markets is not going away. Sam, FanDuel and DraftKings are going to try to operate prediction markets in places where sports betting is not legal. The AGA clearly thinks that sports prediction markets are very much like sports betting. So this all came to a head. Tell us more.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, the AGA, the American Gaming Association, is the main trade and lobbying group for the sports betting industry, the casino industry, online gaming industry in general. And DraftKings and FanDuel have been its biggest partners, both making up 71% of combined sports betting revenue share. They've been part of the AGA for several years and were really instrumental in getting states to legalize sports betting. And to your point, Craig, now we have a clear departure where both companies, the biggest members, are now leaving the AGA over what they call is a split over their stance on prediction markets. DraftKings and FanDuel both plan to launch their own sports prediction markets within the next month or two. And that is a clear departure from the AGA stance. The AGA has maintained that sports prediction markets are basically sports betting, and they should be regulated as such on the state level, where you have state taxes, state guidelines, fees, different guardrails and guidelines that so far prediction markets have not followed. Companies like Kalshi and Polymarket, they've been sued across multiple states, but so far they've been allowed to pretty much operate these sports betting products wherever they want to. And as time has kind of evolved on this issue of prediction markets, which we've obviously talked about a ton over the past year, the stances of DraftKings and FanDuel have really changed a lot as well. Initially, it was going to be, we're going to wait this out, see what happens, see some legal clarity. And now it kind of looks like both companies are really, with this move, making the kind of committing to the idea that we're not going to get legal clarity for a while. A lot of people think we're now going to get legal clarity eventually once the Supreme Court rules on this, which, if you know anything about the American justice system, that can take a very long time. But the real reasoning here is both companies have taken massive stock hits. FanDuel down about $11 billion in market cap, and DraftKings about $3 billion as well since the start of the year, when these prediction markets really started to take off. So I think that's why you're seeing them now commit to launching their own. As far as what that will do to their stock, how that will impact their relationship with the rest of the sports betting industry and other partners and state regulators, that remains to be seen. We've last week talked about Nevada saying that we're not going to allow DraftKings and FanDuel to be in the state once they do these prediction markets. Other states have made those threats. So we'll have to see what happens there, but it's definitely a huge kind of departure from what we talked about in legal sports betting over the past couple of years. DraftKings and FanDuel were, the biggest name, so of course they would be in the AGA, but we've got a much fractured kind of environment going into 2026 now.
Yeah, we really do. Okay, so, one other part of the story that's aside from sports betting is the idea that sometimes these markets that are left without legal sports betting open up casino wagering, casino gambling, either in person, online, different sort of ways to bet. But there are analysts out there that feel, Sam, that kind of one goes with the other. And so naturally, it doesn't feel like we're getting any closer to some of those markets coming into play here in 2025, maybe not even 2026.
Yeah, when sports betting first was allowed to become legal by the Supreme Court in 2018, companies were obviously very happy to offer sports betting, companies that have been doing fantasy sports and casino companies as well, like Caesars and MGM. But the real end game for them has always been online casino legislation. That's where you make the real money if you're an online operator. I think the margin in sports betting is about 10% to 13%, depending. And when you talk about online casino, like online blackjack, other games you can just have on your phone, those margins are like closer to 50%. So that's where a lot more money comes in. Initially, kind of when online casino legislation started spreading through the United States, a lot of people thought that the more that states make money off it, the more other states will be encouraged to do it. But fast forward to today, we only have 6 states where it's legal. Meanwhile, they just had a record month with over $950 million in revenue in just 6 states. That's way more than sports betting. But analysts, meanwhile, don't think that that is going to move the needle still. So it kind of leads the question of, if not now, then when for online casino? Multiple analysts came out this week and said they expect groups like the AGA, groups like the Sports Betting Alliance to continue pressuring states like Maryland, New York, and Illinois to pass online casino legislation this year. And the thinking is usually if one of those big states like Illinois, for example, in the Midwest passes it, then other states around it would be encouraged. But they just don't see that happening this year when it comes to everything else we're talking about, aside from prediction markets, aside from other states dealing with casino issues like New York, which is planning to launch 3 downstate casinos next year, and Illinois, which is opening up another casino and dealing with a sports betting tax issue as well right now, on top of all the other legislative priorities that are non-gambling in the state. There doesn't seem to be much appetite for it this year. Now, that could always change depending on one state having legislation that picks up and influencing others. But right now, it looks like sports betting companies are going to be having to wait another year to try to advance online casino, which at the end of the day has always been the end game for sports betting. So unfortunate for them.
Thanksgiving is almost here, Sam. So a lot of folks will be watching football in the state of Missouri. It'll be the last week that they can't bet on football because sports betting goes online December the 1st. And getting ahead of things very smartly, the operators are letting you register to start betting less than 2 weeks away. Should be an exciting time.
Yeah, only 2 weeks from Missouri launches.
Go ahead, Sam. We lost you for a minute. All right, Sam, we lost Sam there here at the end. Some technical difficulties there. You know how this works. It's live television, so every once in a while we get some little glitches here. If we could get Sam back, we will. But if not, great job, as always, with Sam. As we were mentioning, for those of you who live in Missouri, you can start betting on sports December the 1st. But as of right now, you can actually register to bet in advance. 12 days out we are from legal betting on sports. It'll be a very big story for us. the week after Thanksgiving. All right, Sam, we got 2 minutes left. Let's close it out here with that discussion. I think I set the table for you here. You can go ahead and take it from there.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Craig. We've got already sportsbooks launching their pre-sign-up offers in Missouri, anything ranging from $200 to $3,000 in bonus bets, depending on the operator. You have a couple of sportsbooks have held out so far from launching their sign-up offers. You've got Circa, Underdog, and Penn, which is going to be switching to the Score Bet. It'll be the first state where they aren't ESPN Bet. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what offers they choose to put forward there. But this is the first state where there's going to be a sports betting launch since March of last year when North Carolina went online. So it'll kind of be a new experience for the sports books that have not been going launch after launch this year. It'll be the first time they spend a lot of money, and already major operators have accounted for that huge increase in promo spending in Q4. It'll be really interesting to see what the Missouri market ends up looking like, considering so many states around it have had it legal for a long time. Our analyst Eric Ramsey at LSR has projected over $4.6 billion in bets, with $500 million in revenue for the operators. Once the market matures and at a 10% tax, that's pretty favorable for operators. So yeah, we'll see what happens when Missouri goes online, but they should be pretty excited about these sportsbooks already launching sign-up offers. And of course, we'll continue to monitor for how the market goes and who's leading and, everything else that comes to shake in Missouri.
Check it out over at LegalSportsReport.com. Sam McQuillan, thanks again for coming on the show. We'll catch up again next week or Friday.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Craig.
Friday. Getting ahead of myself here. Thanksgiving coming up next week. Okay, Simon Applebaum is in the house next from the podcast Tomorrow Will Be Televised. The battle with YouTube TV and Disney is over. What happened? Simon will tell us next.
You need Justin Jefferson on that wall in the playoffs. Like, you got to go get him. He is still the man. I understand the JJ week last. I get it. It was ugly. There were a lot of spots where, where's he throwing that ball to? What's he doing? It'll be fine. Justin Jefferson's far too talented, and McCarthy will continue to figure it out. But it's the target volume you want. He gets double-digit targets every week. He is arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Oh boy, oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Players behind the scenes have complained about Hurts's unwillingness to throw through tight windows against zone coverage. I told you Friday, Kevin, that Jalen Hurts takes the path of least resistance. He holds on to the ball. He doesn't like making those tighter throws. Though he loves making deeper throws, which it's interesting. Over 20 yards, he's one of the best in the National Football League.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all three Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Everybody on YouTube TV can rejoice. This past week, in case you missed it, you can watch college pro football, ESPN and Disney back on the air. Let's bring in Simon Applebaum from the podcast Tomorrow Will Be Televised. Simon, I know a lot of folks were saying, if you don't get this thing back going this week, I'm out. I mean, no one is going to wait to see if the College Football National Championship is not going to be airing. So the dispute ended up coming to a completion. I don't know that we saw a ton of numbers out there. I'm sure eventually that will get reported. But how did this thing eventually get solved?
Well, it got solved, Craig, for two reasons. Number one, ESPN and Disney were losing $4 to $5 million a day, and it did impact ABC's viewership. It impacted ESPN's viewership, so that was number one. You do not want to lose $4 to $5 million a day for way beyond a few weeks, which is what happened, 2 weeks with this whole dispute. Secondly, and more importantly, especially in terms of the betting side of things, YouTube television got what they wanted, which is we now have the opportunity to have the ESPN Mega Content Service, which includes the opportunity for people who use FanDuel to place bets to track their bets on this service. They now can get that service free at no additional cost. And that was the big thing that YouTube television's 10 million subscribers wanted. So when you said they're rejoicing in a lot of ways. They get the opportunity to have ESPN Unlimited or ESPN app or Mega, as I call it, Mega Content Service for free. If they're placing bets on FanDuel, they're able to track their bets. And when and if ESPN allows you to place a bet directly through the television set using a voice-to-voice remote, which looks like they may do it next year, that will help things even more for YouTube television subscribers and for ESPN and Disney.
I think, Simon, for me, and again, before we get to our next subject here, the thing is that both of these companies sort of need each other, right? Because so many people are flipping over to YouTube. So I think that needed to happen. And I think YouTube also needed to have this because as we were seeing this past week, especially in a lot of the people who were chatting online, they were starting to lose subscribers. People were starting to at least take the opportunity to go to DirecTV or Dish or even go back to Comcast or some of these cable operators and at least do free trials to see if this was going to end.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a situation where YouTube, according to the latest Nielsen Gauge numbers that came out yesterday, YouTube and YouTube television now has, on average, 15% of all monthly viewing. That's viewing on the television set. That's more than Netflix, which has 9%. That's more than Roku channel, which now is 2.5%, or Tubi 2.2, or the other mega content services. And the broadcast networks, by the way, if it wasn't for football, the broadcast network share of viewership would be less than 22%. By the way, with NFL football, it rises to 27% over the course of the month. So this was very big for both Disney to make sure that they didn't lose viewership for ABC or ESPN or Freeform, as well as for YouTube television to keep up their big deal as one of the major ways people watch television every month.
Fascinating stuff there. Okay, so USA Network, Simon, has been around for a long time. I know they're diversifying, creating their own new sports channels, so to speak, and they want to do more live sports coming up next year. Golf Channel also trying to get more LPGA action. It seems as though sports is the one big winner in terms of live action that you can count on.
It is, Craig. This is a case of USA of everything old is new again. If you know your TV history, back in the late 1970s and early 1980s, under Kay Kopowitz, the first female to run a television network, USA, which was a spinoff of Madison Square Garden Network here in the United States, would have a schedule where you would have one night a week of Major League Baseball, one night a week of NHL hockey, one night a week of the NBA. Well, it seems that under the hierarchy of Versant, which is going to spin off USA and Sci-Fi and E! and Oxygen, most of NBC's cable networks except for Bravo, from NBC Universal in a matter of months. They want to make USA go back to that idea of if you want to watch key sports, you watch it here. And as a result of this, you're now going to see USA carry NASCAR. You're going to see USA carry the WNBA, including WNBA Finals action. You're going to see the new League One volleyball with double headers during the winter and spring. You're going to see also now Pac-10 football and basketball next year when that conference is reconstituted with more than 2 teams in the conference, as well as U.S. Open and U.S. Women's Open golf as well. So USA Network is now going to become a major sports hub under the Versant deal. And this is part of an overall strategy at Versant where they're doing USA Sports as an overall banner for what they're going to carry on USA, on Golf Channel, which now will carry all LPGA action every week live, and CNBC. In total, Versant is saying that under the USA Sports sports brand, there'll be over 10,000 hours of sports that'll be carried through all 3 services. So it's a big deal. One thing that won't be carried is Winter Olympics and Olympics coverage. Remember, USA used to be known as the Team USA side of the Olympics. That's not the case anymore. That now goes to NBC Sports. But look for possibly NBC Sports Network, which launched, by the way, on YouTube television on Monday. That may become the new Team USA network for the Winter Olympics and Summer Olympics down in 2028.
Simon, a week from Thursday, more Americans will be home watching football than any other day of the sports calendar year with the Thanksgiving Day games that are coming up. So naturally, it's a good time for all of the networks to explore and even expand some of the broadcast opportunities to take chances on some new looks, especially with alternate casts. What will those look like?
Well, it's coming next Thursday. You're going to see Peacock do what they did last year, which is the alternate cast involving EA Sports Madden cast. There'll be big mix of live action and video game play. They'll have their own play-by-play, their own analysts. They'll have stats and so on and so forth. Now, they did this last year during one of the Saturday afternoon NFL games. Now they're going prime time with this on Peacock. So if you want to have something different from what you will see on NBC with their Thanksgiving Day game, which, by the way, is the Bengals and the Ravens, could be a very important game for the Ravens, by the way, with Lamar Jackson, depending on their playoff situation. You'll be able to see that on Peacock. And that's just the beginning of a whole bunch of these animated alternative telecasts. Coming up on December 8th, you'll see a Monday Night Football game. ESPN has done this before with ABC and Disney, where you'll see an animated version of it. It'll be on Disney Plus. It'll be on ESPN2. It'll be on the ESPN Mega Content Service, Disney XD, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the first of a bunch of these you'll be seeing over the next year or so involving Sony. There'll be a Christmas Day game. They did this last year. You'll see a WNBA for the first time, as well as an NHL game. So you're going to see more of these animated, real-time animated versions.
And next week on the show, Simon and I will dive more into Netflix on Christmas Day, time permitting. Thanks again, Simon, for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Craig. Take care. Enjoy the week.
All right, coming up next, who could be the next head coach of the New York Giants? We'll check in with the early line for who they think. Don't go away.
Ashton Genty has been hit behind the line of scrimmage more than any player in the National Football League. Yep. So you just gave him the ball in the end zone. Do the math. How's that going to work out?
It's like what I said earlier.
He got hit behind the line of scrimmage. He got tackled in the end zone.
Yeah.
Oh, they're terrible. But the thing is, Brady, you draft offensive linemen before you draft a star running back. Like they went backwards.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
When I think of the European tour, these are the players I'm thinking of, right? So I understand why that they would be so frustrated by all this, but they also know that there are rules in place that, from a competitive standpoint, that if you're a member of this tour, like, you can't go join a rival tour. Like, there's rules in place, just like in any other business.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
The Green Bay area and the Philadelphia area, you would get on ABC normally.
Yes.
But they didn't have ABC, so they couldn't get it locally.
Yeah, it just, you have to ask the question, like, nobody wants to hear from Bob Iger during the Monday night game when 10 million people are blacked out from watching the game, and you not ask him about when the blackout's going to end.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The 35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. As we know, the prediction markets, which are available on companies like Kalshi and Crypto.com and Robinhood are really providing sports fans an opportunity to make predictions and place money on things that some of the sports books do not have. And that, seemingly is the problem with the American Gaming Association, because it seems a lot like sports betting. But I digress. The Early Line, fantastic show for those of you who may be sleeping during the time is on. You really should be catching it. Donnie Rightside and Joe Ranieri host that show each and every morning. Had an opportunity to hop on to the Kalshi app and take a look at some of the odds. And wouldn't you know, some of it is surrounding who the next head coaches will be in some spots in the National Football League. Well, one very coveted spot has to be in New York, where the Giants already have their quarterback. They already have their great wide receiver and a lot of good defensive players as well. Brian Daboll a couple of weeks ago was shown the door, and Mike Kafka has taken over on an interim basis. So what do those prediction odds look like on Kalshi, who could become the next head coach of the New York Giants? Let's check in with Donnie and Joe for the latest prediction odds.
Kalshi Market Show. We love our Kalshi Markets here. A different way to try to approach sports wagering here. More of a stock market approach here at this point. So let's get to some of the questions we have up on Kalshi to see if we can get some answers, Joe. Who will be the next permanent head coach of the New York Giants football team? You got to be kidding me on this. It says Mike McCarthy at 18%. Clint Kubiak, Jeff Hafley, Mike Kafka, Lou Anaramo. I say punt. Can you, man, sometimes like, hey, we need a quarterback and we got to get into the draft. Oh, you know what? There's no good quarterbacks this year. Let's wait till next year. My goodness. Time some of these guys you want to bet. You betting on Mike McCarthy, Joe?
Matt Nagy, Arthur Smith. I mean, some of these names. I love Lou Anarumo. I hope the guy gets a shot, but that's a defensive-minded guy. Spags' his name. Could you imagine Spags coming back? That would be hilarious. But it's got to be an offensive guy with Jackson Dart, you would think, right? I mean, that's where you got to focus your attention. But none of those names, Donnie, are going to move the needle for Giants fans. But I do think McCarthy, say what you want. I mean, 20% right now in the Kalshi market. He's really the only established offensive guy that you might entrust a rookie quarterback with.
Sign Mike McCarthy, man. That does nothing for anybody at this point. We'll see if that plays out. And also, who is going to be the number one pick next year? Could it be the Tennessee Titans have it? Could it be the New Orleans Saints? Could it be the New York Jets? Could it be the Cleveland Browns? Well, the leader in the clubhouse right now at 34% as a chance. It's the Tennessee Titans, who last year, Joe, had the number one overall pick, and their offense looks absolutely horrendous on a week-to-week basis. I don't think they're going quarterback in the draft again, but the highest chances of getting that pick, it's Tennessee right now, Joe.
No, they will not go quarterback again next year, but they could either trade out of it and gain a whole lot of equity, Donnie, to go on there. And then, of course, I think New Orleans has got a pretty good shot. But New Orleans defensively has been more competitive than we thought they would be. Either which way, I think those two teams, Donnie, are the two that are going to battle. But don't be shocked if Tennessee wins it and then trades out of it and gets 5 or 6 other picks in order to be able to build that team the right way.
That's the perfect double whammy. You draft your quarterback and you think you have your quarterback. Then you still stink the next year, and hopefully the quarterback is still okay. Then you have the number one pick again. You trade it for a treasure trove of defensive players and offensive players to build around that quarterback while he's still in his rookie quarterback contract. That makes a lot of sense. Let's flip it over to college football here, Joe and Kalshi. College football Big Ten championship winner. The heavy favorite is the Ohio State Buckeyes here at about a 51% chance. Second place, of course, is going to be Indiana. They will probably tee it up and match up in that Big Ten championship game. I think Ohio State is the best team in the country, but I just need them to get, can we get a game where they get challenged or a game that's up against it, or do we just have to wait to the Big Ten championship game to see them play Indiana, Joe?
And I think that's what it's going to come down to. Although, listen, they still have Michigan, but Michigan, ironically enough, Donnie, if Michigan was to beat Ohio State again this year, they only have 2 losses. Yeah. They're in the playoff. I hate to break it to you, but they're in the playoff. If they run it, they won't even be in the Big Ten championship game. But if they beat Ohio State, that'll give them enough clout to actually sneak in as one of the top 11 teams. Hard to believe, but Ohio State is deservedly the number one and will win, I think, the Big Ten.
By the way, I was talking to Coach Bowden on Saturday on the college football show. And I'm asking him, I was like, hey, but by the way, that Big Ten championship game, because the winner that's going to move on, the loser that's going to move on to the playoffs. I was like, do you hide any plays back and say, you know what, we might see you again? He said, no, lay it all out there on the line. Never play for tomorrow, baby. Play for today. We'll be right back from here on the line.
Ashton Genty has been hit behind the line of scrimmage more than any player in the National Football League.
Yep.
So you just gave him the ball in the end zone. Do the math. How's that going to work out?
It's like what
he
I said
got hit
earlier.
behind the line of scrimmage. He got tackled in the end zone.
Line. Yeah.
Oh, they're terrible. But the thing is, Brady, you draft offensive linemen before you draft a star running back. Like they went backwards.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
When I think of the European tour, these are the players I'm thinking of, right? So I understand why that they would be so frustrated by all this, but they also know that there are rules in place that, from a competitive standpoint, that if you're a member of this tour, like, you can't go join a rival tour. Like, there's rules in place, just like in any other business.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
The Green Bay area and the Philadelphia area, you would get on ABC normally.
Yes.
But they didn't have ABC, so they couldn't get it locally.
Yeah, it just, you have to ask the question, like, nobody wants to hear from Bob Iger during the Monday night game when 10 million people are blacked out from watching the game, and you not ask him about when the blackout's going to end.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
The 35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Time to check in on the landscape of the National Basketball Association with Brad Thomas, who is kind enough to join us here on NewsWire on this Wednesday. Brad, great to have you back here once again on the show. We'll do some recap and then some look forward, as we always do. And let's get started with the return of LeBron James to the Los Angeles Lakers. He missed approximately a month of the NBA season. The Lakers win in the game that he's back, 140-126. He played 29 minutes, 11 points, 12 assists, and 3 rebounds. And I guess took a little shot at somebody who asked him at practice yesterday if he could fit in on a team that's playing good basketball, saying, are you kidding me? I'm LeBron James. I can fit in anywhere. But, certainly he's going to not be the primary scorer, I would guess, on this team. Maybe not even the secondary scorer on this team, but definitely is going to add and help the Lakers moving forward.
Yeah, that's a welcome sign, right? You don't want LeBron James at his age to be the primary or secondary scorer on your team if you have real championship aspirations. It's really nice for the Lakers to have the contributions and the growth of Austin Reeves, right, for this team. It's really funny to note that Keontae George was born in 2003, the same year that LeBron James entered the NBA. Absolutely fascinating to be sharing and starting at the same time in a game against each other. But yeah, it was a good game. I mean, the Utah Jazz just really aren't that good. They were outscored 74-55 in the second half. Good win for the Lakers, but that's when you have to win.
Yeah, definitely so. All right, so love your analysis coming up here on this team, the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons win again. They're the hottest team in the East. Only Oklahoma City has really been better than them all season. 120-112 behind Cade Cunningham's 25 points, 10 assists, and 6 rebounds. And before we get your analysis, Brad, on this, I want you to hear from JB Bickerstaff, who talked about something in the NBA that nobody seems to be playing, which is defense.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it over and over again. We go as our defense goes. And, you know, there was a stretch there where we just weren't getting it done defensively, giving them too many opportunities, catch and shoot threes, cuts to the basket. And then, you know, again, we decided to do what we do best, and that's guard. And when we do that, it triggers our offense, and it gave us an opportunity to create some separation.
So each and every night I'm seeing Brad, put his prop bets in. And so on social media, I can catch some of your opinions on this. So I really want yours here because it doesn't seem to me that many coaches are even talking about defense these days. But is that really why Detroit is off to such a good start here?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of defense, right? Second in the NBA in defensive rating. Defensive goes a long way. They have a really long team, a lot of length, which helps them defend as well. But it's also Cade Cunningham, right? He's playing at an MVP level. You talked about his 25, 6, and 10 last night. Became the first player in Pistons history with 25 plus and 10 assists in 5 consecutive games. But also we have to talk about Duren, who's also taking a massive step forward. I think this Pistons team is a really, really talented team. I kind of was looking at JB Bickerstaff, Coach of the Year props, but this is a team that did make the playoffs last year at 3.5. I don't think we're getting enough value, or that'd be 4.5, excuse me, if we're talking about decimal odds. But yeah, this Pistons team is really good because they're playing defense, and their offense is not half bad either.
The Magic beat the Warriors 121-113 after a really heartfelt start for Golden State. Things are sort of turning the other way here a little bit. Desmond Bane with a nice game. Steph does what Steph does, but it is not enough. And then after the game last night, Brad, I saw Jimmy Butler, who's getting ready to return here to South Florida and take on his old team, say that he would wake up and see how he felt and then make a decision as to whether or not he was going to play against the Heat. And I'm not saying that this honeymoon is over at all for Jimmy Butler and the Warriors. I'm just saying that I don't know that this is going to be as smooth as maybe they thought it would be. Is Golden State going to right this ship here, or when they play a good team, are they going to have trouble?
I think they'll right the ship eventually. They're just in a really tough stretch, right? First and foremost, the Orlando Magic, desperate for wins, look like they're finally putting it together, even though Paulo Banchero was sidelined. And then Franz Wagner got in foul trouble in that game. But they did have a lot of depth, and I think they were out-hustled. The Magic this season are playing at a much quicker pace than they played last year, and it showed, right? 28-16 in fast break points in favor of the Orlando Magic. And the Warriors are just on this East Coast stretch where they've been away from home for so long. I just think they ran into a buzzsaw. It's going to be really interesting when they play against the Heat, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But the Golden State Warriors just really need to get home, get healthy, get fresh, and kind of go for another run. 5-5 in their last 10 is not great, especially for a team that wants to win championships.
Warriors right now, their win total on the season has dropped to 50.5, much higher, of course, after they got off to that great start. To make the playoffs, they will. Finals, another story, 19-1. There. Meanwhile, that's the haves. Let's do the have-nots. My gosh, the Celtics had no problem beating the Nets, and the Celtics have all kinds of problems with injuries too, but it's very clear which way the Nets are headed. I think Brooklyn probably thought, Brad, going into the season, we got this number one pick, or the most ping pong balls lined up here, but they could not have contended with the fact that Indiana is 1-13 on the season. Oh my gosh. So Brooklyn loses to Boston 113-99. And their best player is a castaway from the Denver Nuggets and Michael Porter Jr., a lot of nice young players. But, credit to the Celtics, even missing Tatum and some others, they seem to be playing good.
The Celtics are such a really well-coached team, right? Top 10 in both offensive and defensive rating. A team that has players that are still really, really hungry, and they're getting great contributions from, some of those lesser-known names or guys who weren't superstars like Peyton Pritchard. But the Nets, right? Their pathway is clear. What's the best way to get the number one overall pick? That's just don't play defense. Dead last in defensive rating. They're a team that just likes to go out and shoot basketballs and not really lock in and hone in when push comes to shove. I think the Nets are going to easily have the worst record in the NBA. Michael Porter Jr. being your number one option, your leading scorer, is not going to get it done. There's a reason why he was cast off from Denver, and now he's going to go play. He's going to score a bunch of points, but I don't think he's going to help the Nets win a bunch of games.
So you mentioned the Nets, but this seems to be an abnormal start in the NBA, Brad. You correct me if I'm wrong here, because generally speaking, you're always going to have one or two really bad teams. But as I look at it here, You have 4 teams that only have 2 wins on the season. Are they all chasing the same thing here? Indiana 1-13, Washington 1-12, Brooklyn 2-12. New Orleans already fired their coach, so they're looking to figure things out for the future. And I know Sacramento did not expect to get off to the start of 3-11, but here they are. Am I correct in saying that this is surprising to have 4 teams with 2 or less wins and then another with 3?
I think it's going to be a really, really rich NBA draft class, but I do think it's just kind of one of those scenarios where there's some really poor teams that don't have good roster construction, but also don't have great coaching, hence, the firing earlier by the New Orleans Pelicans. But there are some teams that I think are clearly going to tank, and I don't know if that's going to be the right word to use, and we can even throw the Dallas Mavericks in there if they end up getting rid of AD and Kyrie Irving. But if you're not going to play defense, and there's teams that are going to dedicate to playing defense, like the Detroit Pistons, you're going to lose a lot more. But we'll see some changes kind of halfway through the year where we'll have like a 2-team, maybe a 3-team race for the number 1 overall pick.
Did Wemby's injury, you feel like, derail his opportunity to win the NBA's MVP? I know that they have to play a certain amount of games now in the NBA to do it. He still could potentially qualify. We know that they'll be careful. So whether he gets 65 games still remains to be seen. Does that open up the door for Old Faithful here, for Nikola Jokic to win yet another one? Luka's having a great start too, though. I don't want to dismiss him.
Definitely opens the door for Jokic. I didn't think Wemby was going to win anyway because, remember, he's coming off a major injury last season. And I just think with his size and his frame, he's more susceptible to injuries. And for them, they still have aspirations of a lot of teams of winning a championship. Risking injury for Wemby after missing so much time last season isn't their biggest priority.
Yeah, it didn't seem like he had an issue dunking on Draymond Green, though, in that video. That Draymond Green says that he let him do it or something. Like, Draymond Green is a strange guy, man. Like, what was that all about? He was like, oh, he's mad. He was mad. That's why. Like, nobody saw the first bucket I hit against him. This guy is such an apologist. What's up with him?
Draymond Green is a nut. I don't know. He's crazy. He's in his own little world.
I mean, I saw the same video as everybody else. You just literally got dunked on. It's like making excuses. It's so bizarre. All right, Houston, Cleveland is a good game tonight in the NBA. We'll preview that with Brad next. So stay with us here on SportsGrid. More NewsWire coming your way. NBA coming up next.
And Mahomes were never taken serious. Hurts won't be even if they're the 1 seed. Jonathan Taylor plays running back. Stop. Mahomes lost the head-to-head to Josh. Can I confidently eliminate every single person booked behind Josh Allen to at least beat out Josh Allen? So I'm in a head-to-head with Stafford May?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Another sport like the NBA, which is dealing with its own, scandals, so to speak, and its own headlines with the FBI and what else comes, because this is the same FBI team that also brought the NBA scandals to light. So I'd have to imagine they're working on some other stuff as well right now, and the timing is definitely not a coincidence, but definitely some very significant news in the gambling world that now you're not going to be able to bet more than $200 on a specific pitch market.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Where are the wins coming from? And yes, I agree. Are they good enough to win those games? Yeah, of course they are, right? But the reality of this team is not very good this year in 1-score games. They're not. That was their bread and butter a year ago. Like every win last year, 1-score game, the Chiefs found a way to win it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
You need Justin Jefferson on that wall in the playoffs. Like, you got to go get him. He is still the man. I understand the JJ week last. Like, I get it. It was ugly. There were a lot of spots where, where's he throwing that ball to? What's he doing? It'll be fine. Justin Jefferson's far too talented, and McCarthy will continue to figure it out. But it's the target volume you want. He gets double-digit targets every week. He is arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we got Brad Thomas back with us. Brad loves these props in the NBA. Sometimes he likes sides totals, but he loves these props, so I'm sure we're going to have some for you here. Let's bring Brad back on the show here on NewsWire. We've got Houston, Cleveland tonight. This is probably one of the tightest lines you're going to see in the NBA between two really good teams. Houston is 1.5-point favorites, probably on the strength that Cleveland just hasn't played their best basketball in November. Total 233.5. It seems like they're coming on, though, a little bit, I would say, Brad, based on results here. Any opinion on this, or do you want to just dive right into these player props here? I'm seeing Durant, Sengun, Mitchell, and Mobley up here, so I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, I think I slightly lean to the Rockets here, but I don't have a super strong reason outside of just availability to take the Rockets over the Cavs, and maybe the Cavs being 2-6 against the spread at home. But yeah, I actually have two player props in this game. If you want to go over to the player props, because I feel like this is one of those games where you can get sneaky with an under here.
All right, so let's take a look at those props here. Kevin Durant, Mitchell, Mobley. What's your favorite of these?
Yeah, my favorite's Donovan Mitchell, and it's going to be the chalky under 28.5. It's a sell high spot. Scored 30 plus in 3 straight. Also, I think that the Houston Rockets are such a well-coached defensive team. They're going to do anything in their power to get the ball out of his hands, right? No Darius Garland also on that team. So, excuse me, he's out for injury. So that kind of, you're not as afraid as Sam Merrill's going to be out, then you're like, we're definitely not afraid of him kicking it out and we send a double or we trap. So I think 28.5 against one of the best defensive teams in the NBA is a really solid under. I also like an over for Kevin Durant, over 3.5 assists. Now, this more so is a definite yes, they're going to trap and blitz Kevin Durant, even double. And him having averaged around 4 assists per game. I don't really care so much about that, but I do care about the potential assists per game, which is closer to that 8 to 9 variety and the game flow. I think that 3.5 around -115. I think I got it -105 this morning, but it's around -115 is a really good number there.
Raptors have won 4 straight games. They seem to be scoring at will. One of the top offensive teams in the East. They'll take on the Philadelphia 76ers and Tyrese Maxey today. Total of 234.5. In the breakdown here, it looks like to me, Brad, the last time the Raptors lost was at home to the Philadelphia 76ers. So if that is the case, does that give the Sixers the edge tonight, having won the first one? How does that work this evening?
Yeah, maybe, right? Like the 76ers should have some confidence, but I actually like the Raptors. I think they're playing a little bit of better basketball. Two of these teams are really evenly matched. I think the Raptors hold the edge defensively, right? This is a 76ers team that doesn't really play any defense at all. But they're also really banged up, right? PG-13's out again. Oubre is going to be out this game. Joel Embiid is doubtful. And one thing that I don't think gets talked about enough, you can't keep playing Tyrese Maxey 40-plus minutes, 38 minutes per game. He played 40-plus minutes in back-to-back games. I don't think that's sustainable. I have a slight lean to the Raptors, but not really strong on the side or total there.
I'm a little surprised at this line here. It tells me Jimmy Butler's not playing tonight here, Brad, if I had to guess. The Heat 6.5-point favorites. How is that possible? Against the Golden State Warriors, total of 234.5. Is it possible that the Heat is better than Golden State? Yes. Have you seen the Heat play this season? Every single game is going right down to the last shot, whether they win or they lose, including the game against the Knicks the other day. So the game will tip off at 7:30 Eastern. But they're not making lines of Heat -6.5 unless Butler's out here, right? Like, that's it. Is there anything to say?
Maybe Butler, maybe Curry. This is one of those games where I'll tell any sports bettor who's trying to get into prop betting, be careful of taking player props in this game, because this is your classic blowout spot where the Miami Heat can just absolutely obliterate the Golden State Warriors, hence the 6.5-point spread. If we're being fully transparent, I took Miami Heat -13.5 at +350, and I took -21.5. I think 22-point win would be the blowout range for me at +650. And why is that, right? The Golden State Warriors aren't that bad of a team, but they've played, this would be their 6th road game in 9 days. They're on the last game of an East Coast road trip on the last night off a back-to-back. It's a mouthful, and it's a lot of like some of that stuff working in my brain, but it just makes a ton of sense against a team that's going to play some really fast basketball. I think Jimmy Butler does play, but Steve Kerr has been notorious for doing this. When they play on these back-to-backs on a road trip, if their team starts out slow, he is really quick to pull the plug, because you can't just say, I'm going to sit Jimmy Butler, I'm going to sit Draymond, I'm going to sit Stephen Curry and get away with it, right? Without a real injury or load management or whatever the new phrase is, kind of rationale behind it.
Right.
Why not just go ahead and pull the plug? You go down 10, 15 going into the third quarter or halfway through the third quarter. Why not pull the plug? Why not take your guys out? You're not going to have them play more than 20, 25 minutes, and you're not going to get penalized for it. In the grand scheme of things, this team just wants to make the playoffs. Winning a game on the road on the second half of the back-to-back on the last night of your East Coast road trip is not all that important. So I think this could be a really weird, funky game where players don't play a lot and fans get really upset who are betting player props, especially betting overs.
Yeah, and for those people who bought tickets to see Steph Curry in Miami, they're not going to be happy either, if that's the case. Knicks coming off that loss in Miami, 6.5-point favorites tonight at Dallas. New York has not won yet on the road this season. They're 0-5. We know the Mavericks just have everybody sitting. I did see Jalen Brunson warming up with the Knicks in the last game. I think he's still going to miss time. I'm not sure if that includes tonight. Karl Anthony Towns will play -6.5. Knicks at Mavericks tonight. Who do you like?
Yeah, I like the New York Knicks. It is a little bit of a scary line. I thought I would have made it closer to 6.5. There at 4.5. I'm like, what am I missing? I know Jalen Brunson's probably not going to be out. OG Anunoby is going to be out in this game as well. But the New York Knicks, desperate for that first away win, that road win against a Mavericks team that I just don't think is that good. When Cooper Flagg, no disrespect to the young rook, is your leading scorer at 15 points per game, you're going to have a lot of issues. You're going to have to lean heavily on their defense. They're 29th in offensive rating, which is not anything to write home about. So I think the Knicks are just going to have too much firepower against them and win and cover this game.
All right, Brad, great stuff as always. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll catch up again next week.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, Brad Thomas joining us, breaking down the National Basketball Association. Coming up next, Cam Scattaboo seems to be making the rounds, not on the football field, but near the wrestling ring. Also, one of the best to ever do it on the tennis court gets honored, and a very heartwarming story for a former NFL quarterback. We will have that all next. Don't go left.
And Mahomes were never taken serious. Hurts won't be even if they're the 1 seed. Jonathan Taylor plays running back. Stop. Mahomes lost the head-to-head to Josh. Can I confidently eliminate every single person booked behind Josh Allen to at least beat out Josh Allen? So I'm in a head-to-head with Stafford May?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Another sport like the NBA, which is dealing with its own, scandals, so to speak, and its own headlines with the FBI and what else comes, because this is the same FBI team that also brought the NBA scandals to light. So I'd have to imagine they're working on some other stuff as well right now, and the timing is definitely not a coincidence, but definitely some very significant news in the gambling world that now you're not going to be able to bet more than $200 on a specific pitch market.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Where are the wins coming from? And yes, I agree. Are they good enough to win those games? Yeah, of course they are, right? But the reality of this team is not very good this year in one-score games. They're not. That was their bread and butter a year ago. Like every win last year, one-score game, the Chiefs found a way to win it.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
You need Justin Jefferson on that wall in the playoffs. Like, you got to go get him. He is still the man. I understand the JJ week last. I get it. It was ugly. There were a lot of spots where, where's he throwing that ball to? What's he doing? It'll be fine. Justin Jefferson's far too talented, and McCarthy will continue to figure it out. But it's the target volume you want. He gets double-digit targets every week. He is arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid as we get ready to wrap up the show. You may be familiar with the New York Giants running back Cam Skattebo, who is missing the rest of the season, but he seems to be still pretty active despite the lower leg injury that he had. Also, a tennis legend gets honored, and for those who missed it over the weekend, or you're not familiar with Bernie Kosar and what he does on social media, you may not have seen this story, so we'll give you that as well. Time now to wrap it all up here on this Wednesday with some last licks. Cam Skattebo, drafted out of Arizona State by the New York Giants, seemingly has a very bright future. In fact, he played fantastic for the Giants when he did play this season. A couple of weeks ago, he was injured on a play, kind of a gruesome injury, actually, and was told that he was going to have to miss the rest of the season and should be ready for camp next year, lower leg injury. Skattebo, of course, a very big, bruising running back, for those of you who are not familiar, so it does make some sense that he would be spotted at an event. But Giants fans seemingly not all that happy with seeing this, as Skattebo going face-to-face and toe-to-toe with professional wrestlers. That's right, he was spotted on Monday WWE Raw, Monday Night Raw, Skattebo arguing with another professional wrestler. As we know, some of this stuff is a little tongue-in-cheek, but nevertheless, Skattebo not wrestling at least, and people on social media seemingly having a problem with it also, and Skattebo has no problem telling them I'm going to do whatever they want. So he isn't playing football. He's just, using some sort of device on his foot, whether it's a cast or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what that looked like. But Skattebo having some fun in his young age and still, 1 year out of college. I don't see what the big deal is here. But, New York fans just can't get enough of arguing and complaining, and I think that's probably all this is. All right, Roger Federer, you haven't heard his name in a bit. He hasn't played tennis in several years, but when he did, you could make the argument that he was the very best men's tennis player of all time. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue otherwise. Some would have said maybe Pete Sampras in the past, and of course there have been fun players like John McEnroe and Jimmy Connors and some others. But Roger Federer has officially been elected to the International Tennis Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility. And the reason why we bring these up is because these numbers are staggering. So Federer ended up winning 20 different majors. 20 different majors. U.S. Open, French Open, etc. 103 ATP titles. And this is the crazy part. He spent almost 2 years as the number one tennis player in the world. Years! 310. What am I talking about? This is 6 years. 310 weeks at number one. That is just crazy. So I was very fortunate to see Federer play in a lot of great matches. The only one that seemed to get him, if I'm not mistaken, was Rafael Nadal at the French Open, right? Like that was the only spot that Federer would go down. But every other place he would win. And congratulations, as he ends up now being one of the immortals in the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Okay, we're ending the story. We're ending the show here with a little bit of a sad story, but a heartwarming story at the end. Bernie Kosar, former quarterback in the NFL who played for the Cleveland Browns, Miami Dolphins, and Dallas Cowboys, also played his college ball at the University of Miami, had a very serious liver issue. He's been on a liver transplant list for a really long time. In fact, he almost got a liver transplant recently, but they thought they had a match and there was some sort of infection, and he didn't. Well, life was getting close to coming to an end for Bernie Kosar and his liver. Fortunately for him, and unfortunately for this young man named Bryce Dunlap, who lived in Cleveland and was a big Browns fan, died suddenly at just 21 years old, was taken off life support, and the family decided to donate the liver to Bernie Kosar, and Kosar had a liver transplant in the last 48 hours. He's still in the hospital, but if you follow him on social media, you could see that he's obviously feeling great, doing a lot better. And as somebody who's followed Kosar's career here in South Florida as a member of the Hurricanes and Miami Dolphins, we are wishing Bernie all of the best, and also obviously great job in a horrible situation for this poor family who lost their young son. But sometimes you mention the good deeds that go along with some tragedies as well. Silver lining in that. All right, that'll do it for our show today. Thanks to our great guests, Michael DeCourcy from Sporting News, Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report, Simon Applebaum, and Brad Thomas. Thanks to them. Did a great job today here on the show. We got a lot of fun games tonight, both in college football, the NBA, and National Hockey League. You can catch all the action on In-Game Live, as well as downloading the SportsGrid app, which is available for iOS and Android. Holidays are coming, folks. This is a free gift to you from us. Download the SportsGrid app just by taking out your phone. Thanks again to our director, Luke. Very quiet, Luke, today. Thanks to our producer, Frank. I'm Craig Mish. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back for Thursday Night Football preview tomorrow here on NewsWire. Have a great day, everyone. See you then.